the Trump administration announces a big new security doctrine. It's got consequences for Canada. We're going to break it all down right now with Janice Gross Stein, the founding director of the Munk School of Global Affairs. Janice, thanks for coming on the program.
Pleasure, Rudyard.
Let's first scene set for our audience. What was this paper that dropped on Friday, and why has everybody been abuzz about it over the weekend?
This is the new national security strategy that every administration issues, usually about a year into its life, usually written by a group of senior bureaucrats and, fought over internally, every word measured. Not this time. This is a short, dramatic national security strategy that looks like it was written by 5 people who told it like they see it. It has set Europe on fire. Some people are saying this is the end of Europe's traditional relationship with the United States. It has a very different view of the Western Hemisphere, which involves us. It is a no-holds, no-hits, barred strategy document.
Let's talk about Canada. Key part of this document seems to be, Janice, as you said, a declaration of kind of hemispheric dominance by the United States. There is language in here about a Monroe doctrine with a Trump colliery, a kind of Trump add-on to the famous 19th century Monroe Doctrine. What was the Monroe Doctrine in the first place, and what is this add-on that Trump is putting here in 2025 that seems to in part have Canada in its crosshairs?
Sure does. The Monroe Doctrine, President Monroe issued in 1823, and that was a doctrine which effectively warned the European imperial powers, Spain, Portugal, others who've been long involved in Latin America. Hey guys, back off. This is our backyard, this is our neighborhood, and we will not tolerate the interference by European imperial powers. And let's look at the date for a minute. Rudyard, 1823. This was still a period when the imperial overhang was very much alive in the United States. Comes up once again, believe it or not, in 1904 with the Roosevelt corollary. And this is President Roosevelt, as Latin American countries are becoming independent, fundamentally issuing the same warning. Stay away, foreign interveners. This is our backyard. Now, in 2025, we get the Trump corollary, and it reads very differently. It says, yes, again, the whole hemisphere, in South America, Latin America, but including Canada by implication, is our backyard. We are the dominant power. And then there's a chilling phrase in there, Rudyard, which I thought about over and over again, and it says not only no foreign interference, but no foreign assets in this hemisphere. Just think what that might mean for Canada if the Trump administration means that literally.
And also, with regard to Canada, somewhat chilling language, Janice, about access, that the United States, in a sense, demands through this doctrine, both kind of, as you noted, a kind of economic dominance, but also access to important kind of routes of transit and domains for American force projection, specific mentions of the U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Navy. Janice, this reads like a a sighting, a kind of scope on Canadian Arctic sovereignty, and particularly the Northwest Passage, which has been a long-standing issue of contention between Canada and the United States as to whether that is sovereign Canadian territory, a Canadian waterway, or as the United States have long claimed, a right to navigation, that this is in fact an international waterway which the U.S. and presumably other powers, therefore, could transit. Janice, do you share a concern here that this report kind of does some legwork? It sets up possibly the basis for a more direct U.S. challenge of the Northwest Passage and Canadian sovereignty in that context?
Oh, that's it for sure, Roger. Again, you read relevant language there. As you said, there's a long-standing dispute between Canada and the United States over the status of the Northwest Passage. Canada says it's an internal waterway. The United States has never recognized that claim, and it said it's an international waterway, and yet when there's amicable relationships between the two countries, they just agree to differ. Trump used that word access very deliberately. That is an assertion that Northwest Passage is an international waterway and goes further than simply saying it, insists on access to that waterway in language, frankly, it strikes me as not very different from the way the Trump administration has talked about the Panama Canal. So there's access issues, and then they're saying no foreign ownership of key assets in this part of the world. Well, what's the boundary there? Yeah. Does that mean, for example, that you can't have co-production agreements with Europeans of, just to take one example, of fighter aircraft? Is that one meaning? What about the technology stack? There's no specifics here, but these are very bold, very broad claims that I think Canadian policymakers should take very, very seriously.
Just in our remaining moments, and this is fantastic insight that you're providing us. Let's go out to 30,000 feet, because what I worry about most, having spent a bit of time with this document over the weekend, Janice, is it really resonates with the kind of rhetoric and behavior of a great power thesis for the world. In other words, China, you have dominance over South Asia. And we've even seen, in fact, possibly the president intervening on China's side with its dispute with Japan over Taiwan, and Japan's pledges to come forward to defend Taiwan. The new Japanese prime minister creating some waves there. Trump saying to Russia, in fact, in the Ukraine war, we acknowledge your sphere of influence there, and we are backing away for our European allies. And now, Janice, with this report, the other shoe drops, which is we've recognized your spheres of influence, your projection of force and power in your region. Now we want you to recognize ours. We own the North American hemisphere. You're not allowed in here. If you are, it's on our terms. And more importantly, the countries that are already here, all the way from Latin America through to Canada and Greenland and who knows who else, you're subject to our authority, our theory of the case as to how this hemisphere is going to work. We've ripped aside the veil. We are the dominant power here in the same way that China is the dominant power in Asia, and Russia, presumably, the dominant power in Eastern Europe.
I read it exactly the same way, Roger. This is spheres of influence, a return to the 19th century. There are three big powers. Well, I think there are 2.5, but there are three in this world. There's the United States that owns the whole of the northern and southern hemisphere in the West. There's China that is dominant in Asia. And oh, by the way, Russia is dominant in Eurasia. I describe this as the three bully world, right? These three big powers can bully their near neighbors. They can make the rules. The rest of us are just rule takers. Forget about international law or any kind of rules-based order. That's gone, folks. We're back to where we were in the 19th century, and just get used to it, because that's the world we're going into as far as this national security doctrine is concerned.
Yeah, and we know how that world ended on the killing fields of Flanders. So let's hope that history in this case doesn't repeat or rhyme as the world is pulled into these great power spheres of orbit. Janice, this is a fantastic discussion with you today. Thank you for your time, your analysis, your insights. No doubt we'll be coming back to you in the weeks and months to come to unpack, hopefully, what the Canadian response to this remarkable national security study, report, review will in fact be. Be well, be safe. We'll talk to you again soon.
See you soon.
That's Janice Gross Stein, the founding director of the Munk School of Global Affairs. Thank you for watching this edition of Hub Hits. You can catch a column that I've written on this topic today in the Hub. Head over to www.thehub.ca. I'm Rudyard Griffiths, publisher of the Hub. Speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.